One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Our first order of business. Oh, thank you. All right, our first order of business this evening is the bond fund. Just a brief context overview for those of you who are not aware. The bond fund is a fund that we received. We received a sum of money many years ago. I'm not going to get the year right, from Elizabeth Vaughan for the purposes of recreational activities with a focus on winter activities if possible. And the way that this fund works is every year we get a report out from Quadra Point Investments, which is our investment fund that manages the funds. If the stock market was good and we made some money that year, then we can allocate those funds to applicants. And I believe last year was the first year in my experience that we didn't see growth in that fund, right? And so it's been a while, I guess, since we've done this, but that's just the context for what the bond fund is. So we have a number of applications that we'll be reviewing and discussing this evening. Questions, anybody? No? Okay. So our first order of business is to approve minutes from a long time ago on March 28th.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the minutes from, hang on, we'll get back up there, March 28th, 2023, Vaughan Fund as written.
Thank you. Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. John?
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. Aye. Motion passes 4-0. And just, I forgot that I had the notes here. So just for numbers for 2023, the account made $43,875.27 during the calendar year 2023. And the policy states that we can annually give 70% of the earnings, which this year is $30,712.69. We received 4 applications for a total of $32,029.06, so just under what our earnings are. I think we usually just kind of buzz through each application. So and forgive me, we have a lot of documents, but to go through. Okay, so first application is from Southburg Recreation, specifically for Powder House, submitted by Nikki Drake. This is for a tow rope at Powder House. Is that a decent summary of what this request is? And it sounds like the amount for that is $1,702.92. Thank you, Nikki, for including the invoice. That's helpful. So I'm just gonna go through. So we've got the rope, the tow rope. These are all from Southburg Recreation, which is why I'm trying to keep myself a little bit organized. The second one is to, I'm struggling to follow this, sorry. Nikki, I don't know if you mind coming up to answer some questions. So I know on the second one, there's the garage, electrical work, precision roofing, chimney and stove. That all bubbles up to this like building item.
Yeah, so this all came out of.
Can you come to the microphone?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so this one totaling the $25,000, this all came out of some safety inspections that were performed at Powder House, where the shed that we had was determined to be not up to snuff. We needed to demolish the shed and replaced it with a garage, where we also repurposed the shed that was storing the ice rink. We were efficient about it, where we repurposed the shed that we were storing the ice rink, and the garage that we replaced the shed that was demolished with was big enough to store all the storage we needed for Powder House as well as the ice rink. And then the shed that was that was being used to store the ice rink went up to Agamenticus Fields to be used for some of the equipment storage we needed up there. So we replaced that shed with a garage that was bigger. We could also have the snowmobile in there, where we used to store it at the Public Works garage, and they'd kind of have it on wheels and push it around as needed in the winter time. So, or in the summertime. So, this gives us summer storage for the snowmobile. Then we also needed to replace the roof on the lodge. Nothing had really been done to the lodge. We don't believe it ever Dan, would you agree with that? Ever had been re-roofed, and the roof was probably about 50 years old, 50 or 60 years old. So we replaced the roof. And we made some structural changes to the lodge as well, structural updates to the lodge as well, before the new roof was put on. Then we also needed to replace the chimney and the wood stove and powder house inside the lodge. And there was one more item,
Did we cover the electrical side?
the electrical work. So the electrical work was from the new garage. We just needed to put in a new panel over there in the garage, so coming out from the lodge into the garage, and then have a few outlets put in and lighting put in. So it was all updates that just had never been done and were much needed.
So these are things that are all, like, work that's already been done.
All this
For
work.
the, like,
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so we're looking, we have electrical upgrades we need to make going all the way up the hill. So with that, the request for the $25,000, that's kind of a reimbursement, replacing some of this. Some of the funds came out of CIP, some came out of the Powder House revenue account. And we have some significant electrical upgrades we're looking at doing this summer. So I was looking to replenish some of the funds so that we could put it back into the hill for the electrical work that needs to be done.
Okay, cool. And then is there just one more?
There was one more, and this is just a little one. It came out of some of the safety inspection. We were not aware of the fact that we should have been using metal gas containers. So we have a flammable we inherited one of the gas storage, metal flammable cabinets from the fire department. But we had plastic cans in there because we've been using plastic cans for the whole life of Powder House. So it was determined we needed to purchase metal cans, which I did not realize were $70 a pop. So I was like, wow, those are a little pricier than the plastic ones. And we typically keep 5 so that the guys just go to, when Powder House is up and running, we go through about 5 containers, 5-gallon containers a week. So they just fill up once a week, we run the hill, and then, so that's why we're looking for 5 of them.
Great, I think that covers all the rec department stuff, yeah.
Yes, those were the 3.
Thank you for helping us clarify. Okay, so we have for recreation department, we have the rope, we have I'm just gonna say like building updates, reimbursement. And then we have gas cans, and then we have a 4th application from Esbro. They are looking to buy new equipment and uniforms for all the girls in the softball program. And that is in the amount of $4,000.
So, clarity, I'm gonna abstain from the vote on Sproul as I got roped back in after my 20 years of service to being the field guy again. But just a background on where they're looking for this. So 2019-ish, COVID happened. Everybody went into hiatus. A lot of the gear got put away, stored in the shed. Everybody knows New England with varmint problems and whatnot. So a lot of gear was damaged over the year and a half. Nobody was using it. So last year was a put together year. Programs getting bigger and bigger every year. It started off in 20 with, I think, right around 30 girls. We're back up to 100 plus looking at this year. So programs growing again. Looking to hopefully get to where we used to when we were running 6 teams down on the field. So it would be a huge benefit to the program, the girls, and it runs pretty much through 6 and up. And 70-75% of all those players are Southborough residents. The rest are Elliott, so they're still in the district, but that's all I got on that.
Thank you. I'm just doing a little bit of. Okay, so if we consider all 4 applications, that brings us about $1,300 under what our limit is for this year. The bond fund is typically, like, in the past, I think we've always prioritized winter-related activities, but we've certainly done softball, baseball, wrestling, club, all kinds of stuff in the past. So, does anyone have any thoughts or feelings about any of these request.
I just have a question, actually. So it says that, with the percentages of we're allowed to give 70% of the 40,000 plus that, the account made this year. So it says we can give $30,712, but the application totals are $32,000. That's what it said on the agenda, the calculations. So, but there's also a clause.
Oh, you're right, my bad, I did the math, but you're correct.
So the clause to the Vaughan Fund is, we, the council, as trustees, having the ultimate discretion to disperse funds as they see fit.
Mhm.
So if we went over a little bit, where we'd be going about $2,000 over what they would like us to allocate this year. Can we make that discretionary decision of the fund has over $300,000 in it and it's not utilized like it should be? It's a kind of an out of sight, out of mind fund where there's not a lot of applications every year, and we still wouldn't even be depleting much from what it just made in 1 year, thanks to the good investment with the fund.
You're right, and it does say the trustees, which is us, have the option to disperse more than 70%. However, at no time will the fund be allowed to drop below 100,000. So if we overdraw beyond the 70% this time, we're still safe from the 100,000 limit. So it sounds like then you would be in favor of awarding all of these.
To the bond fund, yes, because there was an interesting piece on the application that said they were looking to recoup on investments made in 22-23, where projected seasonal revenue is $0, considering our unusual 2023-2024 winter season. Unfortunately, I don't think it's unusual. I think the way our climate is going, we're gonna see less and less snow up in the New England area, and where Powder House is a self-sustaining project. Any funds that we can help them sustain, and especially our economic times, would be a wise decision to make. For the Sabrel softball, I want to go back to that fund clause. And I say so because they are asking for $4,000. And they do have matching grants from some, I think it's you eat a night out at a place and that the restaurant gives so much back, you know, whatever. I have a feeling that they're looking for matching grants through that avenue. People aren't eating out as much these days, and I don't think they're gonna see a lot of the additional fundraising money that they need to cover what they would need for everything. So I don't know, I'd kind of like to give them a little more if we could. I know it's not in their application and it might not happen till next year, but if we could kind of figure out what they would need to be able to supply uniforms and equipment for the whole program and not rely on a fundraising event that might not happen, I think that would be a good thing for us to do. I mean, the money's there.
Is 4,000, I understood from the application that $4,000 was going to do all of that, or is it beyond that? What was going to provide, it says, looking to buy all new equipment and uniforms for the girls in our softball program.
The 4,000 will cover it along with what we're raising outside in fundraising.
Okay,
We were just looking for, really, the other side, the equipment manager and the rest, they're just looking for some help in getting over that hump. I'm good with that number, and I appreciate everything Melissa is going down that road, but I'm feel good with the 4,000.
I would worry a little bit about the precedent of like us saying, oh, we're actually gonna give this somebody, well, just like a somewhat ambiguous amount beyond that 10.
Madam Chair, if I may, I don't think it would be, I wouldn't suggest, you can't change an application, you don't have the authority, the more that you, so the application is either you either have to act what's on it or deny it, either accept it or pass it. I don't think you can alter or change it. The group, you know, if the group was here, if Nikki was here and she wanted to change it, I think she could, but I would discourage the council, have the Vaughan Fund group to not change it.
Yeah.
Because then the council could get on and do it the other way next time. And say, oh, no, we're gonna, I would just take the applications and either up or down, fund them. That'd be my recommendation.
Any thoughts, Jeff?
Regarding Powder House Hill, I just feel as though, this is a potential for a four-season facility, so we need to maintain the buildings that we have, so I'm in agreement there. And as far as Sproul is concerned, if we have in the past supported other programs, I am inclined to support this, and it's only putting us about $2,000 off of where we need to, and their season's right around the corner, so, it can really help improve programs, and sports are a source of pride for the community. Who doesn't love a state championship parade coming through town? And we have to support those programs kind of at the local level.
Okay, I will then go ahead and offer up a motion, and I'll do it in two separate ones.
Thank you.
I'll offer up a motion to accept, all three applications from the Southborough Recreation Department, and to distribute Vaughan funds accordingly.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Jessica?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. And then I will do another one, motion to accept the application from Esbro, and distribute $4,000 from the bond fund to them as well.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
John?
I'm abstaining.
Oh, John's abstaining. Melissa?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3 with one abstention. Whenever we don't have all 5 people here, I get all off with my system. Okay, I think that takes care of the bond fund. Any other questions or comments or anything? Nikki, thank you for coming. Dan, thank you for coming. I'm sitting here for that too. And we can go ahead and move forward with our company. Yeah. All right, to begin the council meeting, you have 4 councilors present. Jeff was unable to make it this evening. Oh, thank you. I'll make a motion to adjourn the bond fund meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, Jessica?
Aye.
John?
No.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Sam.
We were just
I
testing.
often need reminders of those sorts of things. Thank you. Okay. So our first order of business is approving our minutes from last meeting. Anyone have any edits or discussion items on the minutes before we make a motion?
I have a potential edit.
Okay.
Public comment. It needs to be indicated that Tamara Steinhauer of 19 Hill Drive was referencing the zoning board of appeals meeting for clarity to the context.
Agreed. I think if we just kind of add a thing at the very beginning, just in reference to the ZBA meeting from whatever date. Good catch, thank you. Anything else? All those in favor of adopting the minutes as amended, say aye. Jessica?
Aye.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I'm
Melissa, make a
all
motion,
over
will
it.
you? I was gonna wait a minute.
Madam Chair, motion to approve the minutes of the town council 2/27/24 meeting
As amended.
as amended.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Jessica?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Up next, we have signing of the treasurer's warrant.
Madam Chair, I move we sign the treasurer's warrant dated 3/7/2024. The amount of $960,962.20.
Second, thank you. Any discussion?
It includes a $752,849.08 school payment.
It does. Anything else?
Nope.
All those in favor of signing the treasurer's warrant, say aye. Jessica?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. All right, that's all of our fairly boring stuff. Next order of business is report and presentation. I think we have several folks from the Great Works Regional Land Trust here to give us their latest update. Up to 10, I'm assuming you're gonna get started. You can come up and let us know what you got. And I know a couple of you would like to speak after Tim kind of gives us his presentation. I'll call on you guys then.
Again, thanks for putting this on the agenda. My name is Tim Smith. I'm a volunteer with the Great Works Regional Land Trust. and I'm the project manager for the Salmon Falls Tidal Waters Project. Jordan Kelly is also here. He's the executive director of the organization. We're a six-town nonprofit land trust. We help landowners with conservation options on their property. And we do that over time through stewardship and management. This is a project we've been working on and you're sort of familiar with it. It's to purchase three pieces of property. Go to the next slide. Down on off of Old Fields Road. There's a front field, there's about 71 acres of upland, 11 acres of intertidal and marshland along the estuary portion of the river. We're situated there in a little bit brighter yellow. Just to the north of it is Vaughan State Park. Across the river, of course, is about 600 or 700 acres of conservation land in New Hampshire. So this is part of a mosaic of work being done by conservation groups to protect water quality and provide public access and recreational opportunities. Just to the right of there is some of the lands of the Mount Agamenicus to the Sea and Conservation Initiative, of which Great Works is part of that. Since my last meeting on the let's see, the purpose why I'm here, I suppose I'll get that right up front. We would like to request the reallocation of the funds from the November 22nd vote for land purchase to public access improvements. We were successful in raising the money from other sources for the land purchases. And that was largely due to the town's actual early contribution in the project. All the funders noted that in their granting of their awards. So that was a critical help. And it also played a big part in the donation in January by the Magnusons, who donated, next slide. Who donated their parcel, which is here. The other two parcels are Cullen. Again, that's 71 acres. He cited the community support is why he chose, rather than to sell the property for $320,000, to actually donate it. So that was a big help in the project, and that got us over the hump where we needed to be on land acquisition. But where we're still falling short is creating and providing that public access. Next slide, sure. Since I was last here at the last meeting, we're on track to trying to close on the Cullen parcels. Our purchase and sales agreements expire at the end of June, so we're working hard to get there and to make that deadline. We did meet with new Fish and Wildlife representatives on the state level for the recently acquired National Coastal Wetland Conservation Grant Program. That was the last grant we got. That was when I was here, I didn't quite know the amount, but they did grant us the full amount of $395,000. There was some question because in that process, we had used the town's land acquisition money for match. And they said we could substitute the Magnuson donation for that. And so that worked out at least for them. So that was, we're working on due diligence. There's a lot of things to do when you purchase property, especially if the federal and state government is involved. But we're progressing through that. We've done the phase one environmental site assessment was completed last month, and that passed without any problems. We're starting to meet with the Lands for Maine Future program, and that's actually the town's application to LMF. They are the applicant in there, and that meeting is coming up on March 21st. And we are on the agenda. This project is on the agenda. That'll start hopefully a 2-meeting process. If we're on the agenda in March, they will do all the checkoffs and see if we are at least qualified for a funding decision, and that funding decision will then occur on May 14th. So we're working hard to get in all their requests for appraisals, surveys, title searches. They need to review all that, and that's what they're doing now. And so that should do all right. Again, that was the town's application there. So that was really helpful with that. Let's see.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you on
Sure.
that point? Oh my gosh, and it just left my brain. Never mind, I'll let it open that. Go ahead.
All right. So anyway, we would like to do, and we go to so the next slide, I think, is the first budget. So this is our budget for the project, and we've been successful here. And I think that's probably, a good thing. That's why we're getting very close to completing this. No, just, yeah, there. Perfect. You know, the land costs, they did go up when the appraisal values came in. We had budgeted around 1.9 million for that, and it came out at, 2,400,000. So we've raised that money. And then getting down to the other expenses, the stewardship contribution, we are fundraising for that now. The stewardship startup funds, that is the public access funds. Those are the ones we'd like the town some help with on that. The conservation support, Great Works is taking care of that one, and in the middle of fundraising for that. Fundraising costs, we've just about covered those. We've done a lot of the due diligence, the environmental site assessment, the appraisals, took a lot of appraisals. Everyone seemed to want a different appraisal. And the survey work is almost completed. Resource management, that's the management plan, invasive species control. We also like the town to consider helping out with that, because that improves the public access point, access and transaction costs. And that's just, we're covering that. That's just actually closing, cost of closing. We have to pay for the state attorney to handle that closing, and so forth and so on. You know, since we, in 2022, when we first started this process for the original request here that went through and was voted on in November, we reached sort of an agreement on that, and we have sort of, Great Works is here tonight to tell you we've completed that agreement. We've raised the money we need, and we've also, you asked not to be the owners of the property. So in January, we passed up a opportunity for the Coastal Estuary Land Conservation Program, because that was the federal source that required the town to be the owner. But since we felt we would complete the fundraising at that point, we did not know about the restriction on the town's warrant article at that point. So we passed up that opportunity to get additional funds, and that's sort of where we are today. But we did complete it, so the town will not have to be the owner of the property. And Great Works will continue to do that and maintain it and pay property taxes on it and so forth. So this is the public, actually, what we're asking the town to consider this evening about creating public access. These are what has to happen for the public to come in. And we need a parking area, of course, trails. We're looking at perhaps putting in 2 overlooks. We'd like to have a management plan to guide the work, and so we can keep track of what we're doing. Boundary marking, invasive species, that's both for a management plan and to have a professionals come in over a period of time. There's a lot of invasive species down there, and if you get them early, you have a chance to at least maintain. You can't eradicate them, but you can control them. And then, of course, signage and kiosks. And those estimates right now are for $295,000. I wish we're asking the town to consider a request for to put on the town meeting, the upcoming town meeting, because time is sort of the essence here, for $200,000. And Great Works is going to continue to fundraise and to complete the remaining expected $95,000. Again, this is an estimated budget. This is based on the projects that we have ongoing. We're opening 2 reserves right now, so we have an idea of parking areas and trails and infrastructure. So we have a good idea about that. But if we don't spend that much money, of course, the town will not have to contribute as much money to that. This is just sort of an expected budget. And so, I don't know if there's any questions.
I'm just a little confused on you don't have to go to the previous slide time, but you guys are still accounting for the Magnuson dollars, even though I thought that was donated.
But that's still that money.
It's
Yes.
money you raised,
We raised that money.
but you didn't use it for that.
No. Their donation is a contribution.
So you're kind of shifting that $440,000 to cover some of these other expenses.
Yes, we would like to, and that's the town's money. You see,
Our warrant article was for 250.
Right. That's correct. So the Magnuson,
But they gave you the property for free, so
but that's
440,000 minus 250,000 is 190,
right.
right? So you guys are redistributing that 190 at least to other things?
No, because it was 300. We had a purchase and sales agreement for $320,000 on that property. The appraisal then came in at 440. They chose to donate the property, so that's still a value to us. That's why
It's just really misleading because you're listing it as an expense. $440,000 as an expense for that
It's true.
property.
It was. I mean, that had to be, that was an expense, we had to acquire, and with the Cullen property also, she has chosen to donate $500,000.
Mhm.
And that is also included in their sales price of 1,600. We had to raise that money somehow. It's just that in this case, in both landowners' cases, they chose to be generous and donate that. That's the same as anyone who chose to donate money. You know, any individual who's donated money to us, the town that donated money, other grants that donated money, it's all a donation,
Yeah,
but it has to cover an expense. And those were the expenses that it covered. So the Magnusons just happened to choose to donate 440. They could have not donated any, they could have donated part of it. It still has to be covered in our budget. Because we still have to cover it like anything, because they're all donations. Every last one of those on that budget has to be covered by a donation. We had no income. So everything's a donation.
I'm still just struggling though, because I know you guys didn't get the $250,000 from us because the warrant article was too specific. So in order, did you actually fundraise 440,000?
No, we did not have to. That's what eliminated that need.
Expenses implies
That's
you
it.
spent the money.
No, it's needed that expenses is what we had to raise. All those expenses are money we had to raise. It doesn't matter how you pay for it.
Mhm.
You know, if you could do, you know, like in North Berwick, we're doing a project on Bonnie Beg Mountain, and we had the expense of a parking lot, and the town chose to build it for us. That's still an expense in our project, and we used that to match federal funds that went into building trails. And in this case, that $440,000, the National Coastal Wetlands Conservation Grant Program accepted that as a cash match. In other words, they allowed that to be used as match. And we asked that question because, you know, the issue with the town and the warrant article came up. And so we said, well, because the town, we had used the $200,000 from the town as match in that grant application. So we had to have that conversation that says, well, you know, we don't need that money, the town's money for the land acquisition, because and they said that was fine, as long they consider it as cash match. Because if the landowners didn't donate it, we would have to raise it
Mhm.
and give it to them. So, you know, all these things are, we call it, well, I don't know what else we would call it, it's expense, it's money that we have to find somehow. And it's just happened to be that the landowners here, again, were very generous.
But
And,
like, is anyone else struggling with this? Like I am, like, you're saying you had to raise that money. Like, that's what you just said, you had to raise 440,000, which makes me think that you guys have 440,000. You don't need that now because the
No.
land was donated, so can't you shift that money?
no, that money is not in dollars. That money was in a donation, just like every dollar we get is a donation. And the land was contributed in kind, so it becomes an in-kind donation. That doesn't mean it's zero value. We have to, no, just meaning for accounting, we have to account for it somehow. So if you reduced, you know, both the landowners' contributions out of that, which is just shy of $1 million, suddenly it wouldn't look like there was much of a project going on and no one would fund, you know, we wouldn't get the federal and state funds. But those dollars are just as much as someone sending us in a $50 or $100 or a $5,000 contribution in the mail, which is what we've been doing. And those donations count just as much as the landowners. And landowners are our most generous donors, as you might expect.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
I think the piece that we're missing in the picture is all your revenues and all the grants that you've got.
yeah, I'm
To offset
struggling to
these
figure out what other money exists and what it's being used for. Cause you basically
Okay,
have this is the
sure.
project cost and here's what we're asking you for.
Had that on January 23rd.
Okay, I didn't know if anything had changed or anything. Starting
No, nothing has changed from that.
Okay,
So we were just about raised most of the money here. And but that counts the town's contribution. So we've been banking on that town contribution, and that's why I'm here tonight, is to try to solve that dilemma.
there's no solving it. We literally are starting over. We have to put it back.
But that could be the solution. That's what I'm hoping. So that's fine. That's what I understood.
Okay. Is there any more questions?
I just have a question because I'm looking at slide 31 that you're showing. It's showing stewardship startup funds of 257,000. And then on the next slide, it's showing that total stewardship startup of 295,000, so I'm wondering.
Yes, there was the management, there were two, this slide combines two of the categories from the previous slide. You move up. This this takes into account stewardship startup funds, the public access fund, and the resource management funds. Those two are combined. So that's why, yes, I realize that it's probably gonna be questionable. I have a question of,
And on January 23rd, you presented us with an updated project expense sheet. On that sheet, the original stewardship startup funds were $65,000.
that's correct.
The updated expense roughly a year later doubled to $135,000. Now, less than 2 months later, the total stewardship is $295,000.
That's correct.
How does this expense more than quadruple in a year? We asked for details, and the breakdown of expenses is a little too broad and slim for me in nature.
Okay, sure. That's a good question. What's happened is that we've been, in the past year, and particularly in this past fall, we've been developing two other public preserves, the old Boston Place in Akunquit, and also the Bonnie Begg recreational area in North Berwick. And we're finding the expenses have gone up considerably. What we had been budgeting in for like the old Boston Place, we had budgeted $15,000 to $17,000 per parking lot. That came in at $68,000. At the Bonnie Begg one, where the town is putting in, the town has gone out and budgeted that. We had originally put in, we thought a lot, we budgeted $30,000 for that, $30,000 for that. They came back with a cost of $78,000 for that. On the trails on the old Boston property, we're trying to make them ADA, we're trying to put in an ADA accessible trail. Somewhat, which we'd like to do, at least do something similar to that at this property. And after about for a little bit over a 1 mile trail, that was coming in at $140,000 for the trail construction. So that has adjusted these expenses for this. And we're not gonna put in an ADA trail, I don't believe, because we don't think we have the money, but we're gonna put in a lot more mileage of trails down here at the Salmon Falls. So, but we want to have a trail where, unlike, a little bit of Vaughan Woods, it's a little bit maybe easier for people to walk on. And be a little bit, mobility accessible, I guess is the word. Let's see what else it's gonna be. Those are the major, two items. Let's go up, go down to the stewardship startup, and let's see. The overlooks, then they have not been designed or planned. So those again are guesses. It could be that they don't get built. We don't know, but they're certainly not gonna get built unless if we have them in the budget and look at those. I mean, one is actually a physical, the Cullen one is actual a physical built, like a deck, small deck that would be built on the slope side, to get views out over the marsh. The Magnuson one is not, that is just built on the ground, and it will just be sort of like just a resting area, picnic bench, maybe, little benches, just something where people can stop and take and just sit and watch the wildlife, or boaters on the boat, on the river and so forth. And I think that is the bulk of the difference there. And again, these are estimates, so as we go through time, but again, my plan here is things aren't gonna get cheaper. As we go through here and move in here, if we close on this property by June, it's probably, we'll do the management plan, which will help lay out the trails. And we probably won't get to the parking and the trail installation until a year from now. And that is, that's, in these terms, it seems to be really, we're noticing considerable increases in those prices right now for us. So, it's better to, not have to use money that than to have to go out and suddenly fundraise again after you've promised things. And certainly, public access was one of the things and one of the benefits we saw in this project, that having public access, and if to not provide public access, I think would certainly, I feel would be a mistake at this point, or not, relatively quickly.
My earlier question that left my brain was everything for the steward startup that's all kind of like upfront, getting started, going costs, not maintenance.
Right.
Okay, and then, you had said the town, an annual town meeting, which I guess was just surprising to me, because I think we had sort of been, or at least I had been thinking that whatever we would do similarly, like to what we had done last year and put it on the ballot in November. So I guess, what is your drop dead date on this?
It's gonna be June 30th
Okay,
or before. I mean, because we gotta have that conversation with the funders, because the town money was used for match in all the grants, or not all the grants, the 3 grants. And so, we had the conversation with the National Wetland Conservation Grant. They were okay with us substituting the Magnuson, but I didn't tell them that. I didn't want to tell them that the town was thinking of not, maybe that was even questionable. And certainly the Lands for Maine's Future, the $200,000 of town money was applied to that, was also applied to that grant. I haven't had that conversation with them on how that would affect what they would choose to do. Where they would just reduce their grant by $200,000. So that's why I'm here tonight, because I would like a plan in place with a relatively short timeline and shortly, at least a definitive possible outcome. So when I have this conversation with those funders, I can tell them, this is what happened. This is what the solution has been presented, and this is the timeline that will occur in. And that's why the sooner, of course, the better for this, because, we're there.
so for the, just administrative thing, for the annual town meeting, what is our date in which we have to have language drafted?
You'd have to have a final vote. So you'd have to vote, you'll have to vote on something tonight to give me permission to contact legal counsel or a warrant question. We'd have the draft question back to the next council meeting, and we'd have to finalize that as a formal warrant article for the first meeting in April with the budget.
In order to get it on the warrant for May. Okay, thank you. Council, Jen and Tim, do you guys have any questions for Tim? I know there were a few people here tonight that wanted to speak about this, and it was David. And I'm forgetting your name at the moment, but whoever would like to speak on this topic, please go ahead and come on up. Tim, if you were done.
I am done.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm just trying to, I think it's just.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I'm David McDermott from 60 Bennett Lot Road. And I'm an original and former board member with the Land Trust. And I never worked on a project, and after listening to Tim, you know why. They're extremely complicated. But one thing that I do know from my experience on the board is that when you apply for money to buy land, most of the grants are pretty good about giving you money to purchase the land, but for nothing else, for administrative costs, stewardship, anything like that, you don't get the money for that. That has to be raised elsewhere. It's clear to me from the vote, November 22, that people in this town overwhelmingly felt that this property was worth preserving. And if it's worth preserving, it's worth having public access to. So I really support the idea of putting this on the warrant article for the next town meeting. I think not to do so, just be very short-sighted. I understand the questions about how the budgets are developed, but when you understand budgets, you have to account for every expense. And anyway, it's semi-clear to me how that worked out. And anyway, I support putting this on it, and I hope that you do that, because it'd be, again, very short-sighted not to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Brad Christian, Oakfields Road. I'm hoping that what I have to say here is accurate. But let me start. I will not reiterate the substantial and dedicated work Tim and other talented individuals contributed to the Salmon Falls Title Project from inception to now. We are aware of their comprehensive work. In the summer of 2022, the council unanimously approved creating warrant articles for voters to act upon in November of 2022. The referendum's warrant, as we know, passed with 78% of the vote, an astonishing percentage. The council tasked the town manager who supported these articles at the meeting to write those warrants based on the funding request budget submitted by Great Works Regional Land Trust. Did the administration direct the town's attorney to review these warrants before the council's final approval?
Yes, we had our attorney draft the language as we would do going forward with it.
So what I'm confused by is how is it the attorney now determines the language in the warrant is void and it's not accurate?
The language in the warrant was to allocate funds to purchase that very specific piece of property. There were lot numbers and everything in the language. And that because that was null and void and no longer needed, those funds that voters voted on because of the language in the warrant article was so incredibly specific that we have to restart this process because the $250,000 that 78% of people voted on
Yeah.
was to purchase the Magnuson property, which is no longer needed to be purchased because it was donated. Keep me honest, and I'm saying anything incorrectly, but
Okay,
the language was incredibly specific, and as a result, we have to start over.
okay. I'm not going to debate it because I've gotten information from different sources. That's why I'm concerned as to how accurate that particular issue is. So I guess what I'd like to finish with is, right now, whatever concerns there may be as far as not funding the replacement request, the council is now requiring for the Great Works Land Trust. We understand the 200,000, if I'm not mistaken, is earmarked for this project in whatever itemized context that you put it in, is as determined by citizens via the referendum, now sits in the undesignated fund. So must one infer other projects not specifically in the town's budget are exceeding funding projections and management. Well, then why is it? I'm also hearing that there's a debate not to fund the 200,000.
To be clear,
Please.
whatever happens with this item, it will be determined by the people of South Berwick. If we move forward with this, it will be something that will be outside of our hands. We're simply voting on, are we gonna put the language on the warrant or not? So if we do that and the residents decide to support it, that's awesome.
Right, okay. So I'll skip a portion here and just go to the final. Is I truly believe the council wishes to continue their support for this project. And we all urge you, please reinstate the requisite funding by passing the replacement request that I assume, or hopefully, you might find the opportunity to vote on this evening. It's the right thing to do for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on that topic?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Just want to thank you for your time tonight and reviewing this. I know it's
Sorry, can you state your name? Just-
oh yeah, Jordan Kelly,
Okay, and you're with Great Works.
Executive Director of Great Works. Thank you. So just thank you all for your time. These projects are really big and complicated. I think the original intent of what the voters were supporting was a preserve that they can use, that they can be in nature. The benefits of physical and mental health in these spaces are really important. There's a lot of value there. I think if we don't raise this money through the town, it's gonna put a big burden on us and other people that we've already tapped to donate to these projects. We can't keep going to the same well and our members to fund this. We need your help. If we don't get this, it'll take a while for this vision of what it could be to happen. It could be years and years. With your help, it's gonna be what the original intent was, to have a preserve that everybody can use for a long time to come. So it serves not only our lifetime, but further on. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Pat, did you want to say anything? No, okay. Anyone else?
Everything on.
Okay, anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Jason Goldstein from Old Fields Road. I just wanted to come back to the point that you made about the town's people being ultimately the decision makers, and I think they've already spoken. with that original warrant article, and I have no doubt that they would probably be in favor of a reworded warrant article that will be put to vote, so I hope that you do consider it. This initiative has come a long way. There's been a lot of grassroots effort from Great Works Regional Land Trust, people like Tin, and many, many others, and from, the community to the town itself. So I really hope that you consider moving that forward. Thank you.
All right, so I think we need to wrap up for this evening if we're gonna ask Tim to work with, legal to draft in language. Does anyone want to say anything? Comments, questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I might as well be the guy. So, in the 10 years I've sat here, I've supported, I think, 100% of everything we've done with Great Works Land Trust, with buying land to keep it for us. I'm a big user of just about every trail around here. I've hiked with my wife. All in favor last year of putting this on a warrant for $250,000 for the town, so we could obtain that land, so it would not get turned into development or anything else. That being said, that money was not used because of generous donations, which was great. It goes back to undesignated. This is a very tough budget cycle for the town this year. I have to take out my emotions and my personal thoughts on what I would like to do. We are not supporting some requests from our police department that this town greatly needs because money's tight. The $200,000 we're talking coming out of undesignated could help us support what the police department was requesting. So I'm struggling with the direction to go on this. I'm struggling with if our money, if the town's money that we voted on had been used to purchase this property, you'd still be in the same place you are now with needing to create the infrastructure and come up with the money. So I'm not sure where that plan was. I'm also not an instant gratification guy. I know things take time. And if it takes 3 years to develop trails down there, so be it, it takes 3 years. And I understand what you all are up against, but sitting where I am right now, knowing the budget we worked through last week, that every department head cut their budget, and there's a lot of stuff that they really are doing without. I don't know if I could move this forward to put it on the referendum for May. And that's a tough one.
So one thing I would like to put out there is I'm struggling with this one as well because we do have a challenging budget, but we did have pretty high voter turnout in a lot of the community in support of this previously. And I think for myself, I think I would be remiss to disregard that. I wish, just simply because the town meeting is usually not, that we usually don't have a lot of people, it's not usually terribly representative of our community. I totally understand the June timeline, but I would feel so much more comfortable with November because it's a presidential election and we'll for sure have a lot of people coming out, but I recognize that you guys have a timeline, so want to work with that. As John mentioned, we do have a shortage for sure in our police department in terms of meeting kind of what our preferred or required number of officers would be. That said, though, we do have a community who's really in support of things like this. So I'm in favor, I think, of putting it to the voters. And another thought that I had is, is there any flexibility on the amount? Like, if we were to bring it down a little bit, could we, I would assume you guys would still welcome whatever we might be able to give, but is there flexibility on that? Tim, sorry.
I guess there's some flexibility, but again, one of the issues that we're facing is a deadline. And the fact that the town made a commitment in 2022 to contribute $250,000 to this project. We used that contribution to get all the other money. And now suddenly, you know, we're gonna have to go back to those people and tell them, sorry, that original story we told you. It's not quite right.
And I don't wanna go back down that road,
But
but we made a commitment. We had a contract that money was gonna be used for the purchase of the land. We made a commitment, the townsfolk made a commitment by that item.
yes, we
They
did.
voted on that item.
$200,000 of that was for the purchase and $50,000 of that was for public access. And that budget, every conversation, that's what we agreed upon.
Okay,
So, yeah, I'm a little bit confused myself, like Brad said, that how suddenly did a warrant article get written that erased that stewardship for public use, you know, contribution, because it couldn't be used. Suddenly, I found out 2 weeks ago that it couldn't be used for stewardship. Sorry, when that was in the original budget, in the original 250,000.
I'm assuming you were all there, and I'm assuming you all voted the same way I did on it.
But
on the warrant article.
I did not.
I think, like, I don't wanna like belabor this point, but as far as the $50,000 for the stewardship. I am, like, that for sure was not included in the warrant article language, but I'm also not recalling, like, I guess I had always been thinking that the ask was $250,000 for the property, and if it was not, then that is my fault, and I'm misremembering, and that was a miss for us on the warrant
It was
article.
every budget, and every grant we wrote, we iterated that back.
Yep.
That $200,000 in town was to be pre-acquisition, and $50,000 would go to public access. It was right from the beginning. We did discuss that in the town council meeting, because it was brought up. Can we contribute this all to the acquisition? And we had a discussion, and I certainly brought up a situation such as this, that we're experiencing now, that sometimes we need flexibility in where money goes. And a lot of the grants, they will not give us money, you know, LMF would not give us any money for public access. The federal is not, the two federal grants will not give us any money for public access. It's very difficult to raise, and we certainly saw the town as being the biggest beneficiary of public access. You know, LMF cares, but, you know, the federal government doesn't really care. A lot of public go in there, but the local people certainly do. So, you know, I feel a little bit in a bind here, because I went out and told the story. And things changed, but
I think the other confusion here is-
Sorry, I'm gonna ask Jessica to speak first.
So it feels though if the LMF meeting is on March 21st, at least we can provide to them an update that we are going to be doing this. You know, they did go on and say that we were going to be supportive of the project, so I feel as though if we just rip it out from underneath them, it's not, and I don't think that's what's in question right now.
Yeah.
But it's whether or not it goes on the warrant in May, or whether or not we push it to November, and my preference would be to get some sort of clarity so that we can authorize him to go
Draft language.
draft language and still be able to be transparent about what we're doing with LMF, so that funding is still in place, but,
funding's not in place because it doesn't go in place until May when it gets voted on. So
Well,
it's a
it's-
catch-22, because that money is not there. The
we have to
money-
have a plan that they will accept.
Understood, but just to, it'll be my last end of this, but just to clarify about how these warrant articles are. Paul Street is a parking area right next to where Little Something was. There was a house there. The town voted on a warrant article in a town meeting to expend $80,000 to buy that property, tear that house down and make a parking lot. 2 years ago, we had a resident that owns a house over there that wants to have parking spots for her places. We could not authorize her to use those because in the town warrant that the town voted on, that was to be used for public parking and public parking only. I'm trying to find the warrant article where it was written, but that warrant article that was written was for the purchase of that property.
I can tell you the language, it was to assist the great work to regional land trust in the purchase of 3 properties on their fleet.
So, and the lot number was there. So
Oh, we have.
unfortunately, that ties our hands on that one. This next one is different, but that one ties our hands, so that money is gone.
I understand the need for review if I can. I understand the need for review, that this is a new decision. I think the original intent was always a benefit for the town, that they can use this preserve, that everyone can enjoy it. Now you're saying that perhaps you need it for law enforcement. I think you have to have a vote, because that's not the decision here. It needs to be a decision for what the original intent was, or at least close to it.
And just for context, I think your financial situation, the Great Works Regional Land Trust, has maybe changed favorably in some ways, and that you had the land donated. I know the stewardship costs are more, but we are in a different situation this year than we were in 2022. So
Understood.
that's kind of why we're going through this with a really fine.
And I would just say that, the long-term benefit for this 200,000 is something that really moves for a long time to come. That 200,000 or whatever you want to use it for, if it's law enforcement, I don't know how far that would stretch for one salary or, and how much long-term benefit that would have. If that's a year's salary, then that's pretty short compared to what it could do for a lot of people across the board.
Thanks. Do you have any thoughts?
I'm not sure if there's rising behind it.
I have the warrant question drawn up, if you want to hear.
Yeah, I've got it right here
Oh, you
too.
do?
So if we just, the question that was on the ballot on November 8th, 2022, see if the town will vote to appropriate 250,000 from the undesignated fund to assist the Great Works Regional Land Trust purchase of 71 acres of property on the Salmon Falls River located at map 6, lots 14, 14A, 29A. Such property to be used for public uses, and the appropriation of such funds will not affect the current mill rate. Basically asking the town if they would support that. So that's the language. Well, real quick, just, I don't think that we have to we have to make a final decision on what we're gonna do as far as the warrant this evening. We need to get language drafted, and then at our next meeting, we would approve that language and put it on the ballot. So that kind of gives us some time to like step away and think about it. And meanwhile, we could get the language drafted to make sure that we're prepared come next meeting.
If we're gonna put it on the warrant.
I don't think we need to vote on it. We're gonna put it on the warrant tonight. You wanna add anything?
Go ahead. Nope.
No.
I'm gonna review.
I feel as though if we're going to be authorizing him for something, we have to be crystal clear what we're authorizing him to draft. Or-
And we're looking to vote on this at the annual town meeting or in November. I'm confused.
So it sounds like, given the timeline that Great Works Regional Land Trust has for meeting these funds, June, I wrote down June, a date in June. So that June 30th. So that shifts us to needing to consider this at the annual town meeting, or I guess we technically could do the June election as well, or not in addition to, but or the June election. June 11th, because that's when we do the school budget. We also don't have great turnout for that.
It's a state primary as well, so.
Oh, it's a state primary.
I'm not sure if that gives you any.
Does that help?
It does. I just, I'm feeling just a little off-putted right now of it keeps echoing in my head that I feel like some people think that we're backtracking on a commitment that we made. Like, we made this commitment, we made this commitment. Well, let me go back to the warrant. So it was to purchase 71 acres of property located at map 6, lots 14, 14A, and 29A. Now, I kept being told that they did not use our money because the lot we were asking money for was donated, so they didn't need our money. But there was 3 lots, and the Cullen property, why weren't the funds first appropriated to the Cullen properties? And then less funding and grants were sought from the Land for Maine's Future, the National Coastal Wetlands Conservation Grant, North American Wetland Conservation Act, which totaled $1,100,000. So the money wasn't supposed to just be used towards the property that was donated in the end. It was, so I
Because
did,
it does list all three properties.
so I don't understand why the money that our taxpayers wanted to give for the purchase, why it wasn't thwarted towards the Cullen property then, and then funding was sought. So whatever the $1,600,000 minus our $250,000 towards that property and then seek funding. So I don't like being blamed or looking like a bad light is being shined on the council, like we don't want to support this, when if funding was sought in a little different way, we wouldn't be in this position because our $250,000 would have been used in the first place.
So Tim, that's actually a good question, because our warrant article did cover the Magnuson and Cullen properties, so.
It
could
did,
the
and as
250,000
Melissa stated, it was for all three properties.
Yeah, so.
It wasn't
could-
for the Magnuson property.
Yeah, so then, can't you take the $250,000 that's already been approved and kind of allocate towards the Cullen property?
No, because we have enough in grants to cover the purchase of the Cullen property.
The Magnuson was donated until very late,
I mean, it wasn't-
before we already raised them.
But after the point where we passed up the opportunity to apply for another grant, and that's the bind that we are in. We have, and we don't, and of course, again, if we go, and this is counting on, we're getting the full money from those three grant sources. And again, the town's match was used for LMF for one of those grant sources. And that's where I'm concerned that this isn't just, oh, we can do it in the fall. I mean, this thing could also, I don't think so, but there's a chance it could go out of just finish because we LMF, I do not know that.
Mhm.
I understand where the town's coming from and I certainly can appreciate it as a taxpayer. But we have an opportunity here. I think the voters have spoken very loudly, and I think were clear that they wanted those lands protected. And certainly, I don't think they wanted them just protected so they could drive by them. I have a feeling most people wanted to access them and go on them. And one of the things we heard how crowded Vaughan Woods State Park was. So I think most is exactly right. It was applied to all three. It wasn't just for the Magnuson parcel.
But because between donations and grants, you guys have been able to acquire the properties.
We haven't acquired the Cullen property, and that requires that all the other three grant sources come in full. And again, we have the issue of the town's money being used as match for the LMF grant. And, and so that's the problem that we're facing. We put out a project and we used the town money for match. Those funders accepted it with the town's match in it. We did talk to the National Coastal Wetland Conservation Grant. They allowed us to substitute the Magnuson donation for them. And we will certainly have that conversation. We have to have that conversation with the Lands from Maine Future and the North American Wetland. Actually, we don't have to have it with the North American Wetland Conservation Act because we made that application before we had the town funds. But certainly with LMF, we do. And they might be fine. But I think we still have to have a plan in place that replaces that money so we can at least say, no, it didn't go for purchase, but it's going to be used for public access. That's sort of the plan I had and why the timeline is sort of important despite, I get it, of the low turnout in June. But if it waits to November, then LMF might say, well, we're gonna wait till November then and see what happens. Then
Could you, in waiting until the June 11th election would be fine for you guys?
that would be tight, because that would only give me whatever, 19 days to get the federal money released, get the state money released, get 2 federal grants released. That would be. I would try to do it. But, it's the federal government
Yeah.
for 2 of them and the state government also.
Yeah.
So it's, they start going on vacations.
All right, we need to wrap up this topic so we can get other stuff done. I think what makes sense at this point is to put up a motion to authorize Tim to work with Phil or whomever to draft language,
Just legal counsel.
legal counsel to draft language, and then we take it from there. And we vote on that item. And essentially, so I will make a motion. Motion to authorize the town manager to work with legal counsel to draft language for our annual town meeting in May pertaining to this request from Great Works Regional Land Trust. And to put that language on the warrant article in May. That's the motion on the table. Question?
Sorry, was there a dollar value?
$200,000. Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, discussion, anything? All right, we're gonna vote. Jess? Aye. John?
No.
Melissa? Aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-1. Thank you all for your patience and all of our pokey karate questions. We appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you. All right, that takes care of the Great Works Regional Land Trust. Public comment, anyone, before you guys all leave, anyone got anything else they want to talk about? Anyone on the phone? Okay, if you guys could just limit your like side conversations until to the hallway, that would be great.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business number 1, updated proposals from Oak Point and Place Work. So at our last meeting, the council voted unanimously to choose Oak Point and Place Work as our top 2 for this town hall assessment that we are asking them to do. And Tim worked with those groups to get updated fees. So it looks like Place Work is now coming in at $81,700. Oak Point is coming in at $78,500. An additional piece of information on this topic is last Wednesday, Jen, Tim, myself, and Melissa were able to sit down with the project manager from Oak Point. Because that was a person that was not able to be there for our initial interview, and given that this project manager is a super important person, we wanted to have some FaceTime with that person. And so that happened last Wednesday morning, and I can go ahead and offer up my 2 cents on this situation. I was really pleased with the interaction that we had with Oak Point last week, and I was really happy that they were able to and prioritize making that time for us to be able to connect with the project manager and Peter. So I really appreciated that, but I think for me, the big selling point for Oak Point is the in-house nature of the company. All of they're not subcontracting out anywhere. That added to the fact that they're coming in at the lower price. It's just kind of a no-brainer for me. You guys have any thoughts or questions? Melissa, do you have anything to add from last week?
Some more positives that I learned about the Oak Point and Lassell team is that the project manager lives in York.
Yes.
So he's just a hop, skip, and a jump away for availability, just a town line away, really. The Lassell portion of the Oak Point Lassell team is already familiar with what is important to our town. I asked the point person from Lassell that was at the meeting that was another thing, is we only asked to speak to the project manager. And the next thing we know, the 2 principals from both Oak Point and Lassell and the project manager walked in. So they kind of brought more than what was necessary, which I thought was impressive. You know, the Lassell part of the team has a familiarity with our town. And so I asked if there was anything that, were there lessons learned the hard way of working with our town the first time, and what would be the most important thing that they could bring to the process all over again? And they stated it was the importance of community. And I think that hit pretty hard, especially where, Place Work didn't even consider community engagement in their proposal. So with them saying that was important and acknowledging that, kind of put them a little above. they also listened, to concerns about scopes and services that I questioned the necessity of. And instead of pushing for the service, they understood and agreed. So it just proved that, they can listen, and empathize with, budgetary concerns and stuff. So, yeah, it was really great that we had that second meeting because, it definitely helped, push my decision one way or the other, so.
Do you want to add anything, Jess or Tim or Jen?
I just have one, just, with place work and having the 3D rendering being still an additional fee. I feel as though it's imperative that we have a 3D rendering so people can actually see it when we have hearings.
Yeah.
And so forth, so, that would be.
Okay. All right, so then I will go ahead and make a motion to accept Oak Point and Lassell to do the updated proposal for the conceptual design for town hall. We authorize the town manager to enter into a contract for the amount of $78,500 with Oak Point / Lassell Architects.
Second.
Thank you. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, yeah.
So I'm sorry, Mallory, you read your motion so fast, or did we just make a decision of who we're going with?
I
I'm
just
sorry,
made a motion to say, let's choose Oak Point and we can all vote on that.
Okay, so where this is a motion to choose Oak Point, it would not be in my best interest, to give a decision of if we should award it to them or not, without first clarifying and correcting some incorrect information that was distributed by a local news source, which our residents use for town information gathering more than a council meeting. As my findings would seem contradictory to the article, so let me set the record straight on a few things. It was reported the council was seeking 2 bids from applicants, one for a restoration of the present building and the other for a new building. We were only seeking 1 bid for the restoration. 2, it was reported that the council will make a decision whether to pursue renovation or new construction. I was not aware that that was a solid decision and it was still up in the air of whether it was going to be a town vote or a council vote. 3, it was reported that we only interviewed 3 of the 4 firms. This is incorrect. We interviewed representatives from all 4 firms. We did request a second interview with one of the firms as the project manager was unavailable at the time of the interview. It was also reported that there would be public engagement at a high level by Placework. This is incorrect. It was Oak Point and Lassell. Placework did not include public engagement in their original proposal. And after asking that this be included in their fee proposal, Placework's bid jumped from $66,000 to $81,700. And finally, it was reported that Councilor Cook praised Placework's expertise with public engagement. Madam Chair actually praised Oak Point and Team Lassell, not Placework. So I just wanted to get that information out correctly, because I know that our constituents rely on other sources of information gathering and not the source at hand, which would be council or planning meetings, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? We saw a motion on the table. All those in favor say aye. Jessica? Aye. John?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Mallory? Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
The struggle bus is here.
Yeah, for real. Thank you to the staff, to Ken, to those that have helped in this process. Now the real work begins, I guess. That takes care of unfinished business. If we move on to new business number 1, alewives harvesting facilities.
Madam Chair, I move we authorize the taking of alewives and blueback herring in South Berwick is allowed by the state recreational fishing limit of a maximum of 25 fish per individual per day for the 2024 harvesting season. Commercial harvesting is not allowed. It's been a banner a couple of years for the alewives down at there, and not too many people fish for them, so.
Second. Just some context, each year the council, we have to take action on the harvesting of alewives and blueback herring. And this is just an annual item that comes up every year
Every
around
year.
this time of year.
New Hampshire is legal, so all you have to do is walk across the bridge and you can fish in there, so it doesn't make much sense for us not to allow it here for the very short season.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye, Jessica? Aye. John? Melissa?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Up next, we've got a new liquor license for Secundo LLC.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes,
Just to
please.
give you a little more background.
That
on
would be
what it
wonderful,
is.
thank you, Tanya.
It's actually in the new and green building,
Oh,
or the old and green building, I should say.
okay,
Back, yeah.
It is a, Italian restaurant. They also just got permission from the, historic commission to, paint and make it more, I think, was it black and gold? I believe is what it was said.
change the other.
Yeah, it's changed the atmosphere a little bit, but it is a new, Italian restaurant that's going in. And, Sam Ostro is the owner.
Cool. Any other questions or discussion? We haven't had a motion yet.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the new liquor license for Secundo LLC. We have no real background on them being a business in town yet, but I welcome them in and look forward to dining there.
Yeah, good. Second. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Page 4 of their application, number 13. Will any law enforcement officer directly benefit financially from this license if issued? They have checked yes. It says if yes, provide name of law enforcement officer and department where employed. I feel like this application is potentially incomplete at this point, and we might want to table this for the next meeting.
I agree. I feel like we need clarification on that. I don't think we've ever seen a yes there.
It might just be an error,
Yeah.
with, I checked yes, meant no, but I think we should, look into this.
I can reach out to Sam.
Yeah, okay, let's, I'm gonna make do I have to make a motion to take the motion off the table? I'm gonna make a motion to
No,
table it.
I have to rescind my motion.
Let's table it. until next time.
Madam Chair, I move we table the liquor license for Secundo LLC until the next meeting for clarity on their form.
Second. Any other discussion? Thank you, Tanya, for looking into that. Thank you, Melissa, for the catch. All those in favor say aye, Jessica? Aye. John?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Sam and Secundo LLC will have a decision for you next time. All right, next we have budget schedule update. Jen, Tim, or who's the?
We just wanted to give an update that we had obviously canceled last Thursday's meeting.
Yeah.
Tonight, we will schedule the date for the public hearing, and then we have our next workshop next Tuesday on the 1st of November, which is our second budget workshop. At 6 p.m.
Okay.
So you'll have your budget workshop on March 26th. You'll have to approve a draft budget by motion and vote, with some numbers that was in there.
Yeah.
So that you can take that to the public hearing prior to the town council meeting, and then at the council meeting, you can either alter that budget, or you can approve how it stands, so.
Yep.
And on a footnote, on next Tuesday's budget workshop, all the department heads that had asked for items, or positions have requested to approach the council and ask, and I don't have, I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't let them
Yeah.
come talk, present to the council. They're not big positions, but they felt, so certainly, you're gonna have the library, you're gonna have the economic development, and the police department's gonna come ask for their 2 positions.
They need to plead their case.
Yes.
They deserve the right.
Okay, so it doesn't seem like we have any big changes to the schedule or anything, just an update. So the council will be meeting next Tuesday for sure, maybe next Thursday. And then we'll be approving things after that. So as far as the budget schedule update, we don't have to vote on anything,
Nope.
just information. Okay. Any questions or anything from anybody on the budget schedule? Okay. New business number 4, scheduling the budget public hearing. So I will make a motion to, set the public hearing for the budget for April 9th, at the very beginning of our council meeting. So public hearing on April 9th at 6:30 PM.
No, 6. You want to do it at 6 or start the meeting at 6:30? We'll put it on as a meeting agenda, right?
Yeah. So like, we'll still show up here at 6:30 like usual, but the first thing we do will be the public
Yep.
hearing. However, that needs to be organized. I trust you guys.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Okay.
Kind of similar to tonight, like the Vaughan one.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Okay, do we have a motion on the table? Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye. Jeff? Aye. John?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Budget public hearing on April 9th. And then up next, we have some planning board applications. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I move that we table these until our next meeting so we can schedule interviews with the 2 applicants.
Yes.
Second.
Sorry, I'm just trying to remember what we decided we were gonna do with these. If we, we're not doing them in public anymore, but are we gonna do them like at 6 o'clock before?
That's what we've been doing traditionally,
Yeah.
6 o'clock in the lunchroom.
We've shuffled around a
Yeah.
bit, so I'm starting.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I think, yeah, kind of, if you could maybe work with the 2 applicants to see if they can join us. Like one at 6, one at 6:15 at our next meeting, that would be great, and then we'll need a, executive session. Scheduled for that.
And or after the interviews.
No, the interviews happen in executive session.
Okay.
Yep,
So.
okay,
Right, so you'll open the meeting at 6, go into executive session,
yep,
come out at 6:30, hold your public hearing, and then close your public hearing and go into your regular, weekly, bi-weekly meeting.
yep.
Perfect, thank you. Cool.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to get those interviews scheduled. All those in favor, say aye. Jessica? Aye. John?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Whew, okay, that's all of our business. Your turn, you have managers report.
They took down the old fence at the Red Barn, they're gonna use some pieces of it, do other fence repairs around town, save some money. Highway department's been patching holes and street sweeping this week. They're ditching on Gray Hill Road. They hope to have that done by 3/13, the weather's been cooperative. And Thurl Road from the Horse Farm to Boyd's Corner Road. That's the first project they're gonna start this year, hopefully to start next week, they're gonna be blasting the ledge. And trying to straighten out some of those curves that go around there. So, I guess it's been a project on their project list for like 9 years. And finally they're getting to it. Police department, 1 arrest, 4 accidents, 76 traffic stops. Sergeant Pelkey, who's the new reserve sergeant, will be putting together and implementing a civilian police academy. They hope to have that starting in May and hope to have 13 participants. Fire department had 18 calls in the last 2 weeks, 75 year to date. The new recruit class kicks off on Wednesday, 3/13. There will be 12 members taking the class. Most of them are probationary and junior firefighters. Remainder of the students are existing members who either have been older, and their certifications aren't current, or have not pursued certifications in the past. At the completion of this class, all the interior firefighters will be what they call Pro Board, nationally certified firefighter 1 and 2 firefighters. And what that basically means is, instead of just being a main certification, they're certified nationally, so they can go anywhere and fight fires. Ladder 2, the ladder truck and the tank truck are having some minor electrical issues. They're chasing those around, trying to figure out what's causing those. The South Berwick Emergency Management Agency is working with MSAD 35, to get a generator through a hazard mitigation program through FEMA. The generator is way too small, and only powers a certain part of the building. They're in a process, requires considerable information, they've been doing that. And the application needs to be submitted by June 6th, and it's gonna be for over 700,000. Code enforcement has done one building permit, one plumbing permit. Planning, they have final approval for Sandville Estates. And final approval for Libby Scott paving and moving the paving company to South Carolina. Public hearing, South Carolina boarding kennels is up for a final, plan review. And FEMA floodplain ordinance is going in front of the planning board. Once that gets done, it has to come here. We gotta get that done by summer sometime. Just in time for them to rewrite the plan again, start all over and have us do it again. New historic district road signs will be in on Thursday for the, historic committee for us to put up in the historic village area.
At the library for the month of February, they had 2,300 visitors, 2,400 items checked out, 276 items borrowed from other libraries, 144 items lent to other libraries, and 36 programs with a total of 458 people in attendance. So they've been pretty busy. The DIY adventure that they did on the 5th was tempura paint making, and on April 2nd, they will be doing paper making. On March 19th at noon, Lee has started a program where every month you go to the library and have lunch with one of the town employees. Tyann is our first person. She'll be there on the 19th if you want to go join her for pizza lunch at the library at noon. For recreation, they held a gun stock trip this past Wednesday. That went smoothly. The Easter egg hunt and touch a truck event is going to be on Saturday, the 23rd, across the street at Central School. The strawberry run planning is already in full swing. Several of last year's sponsors are already reaching back out, and we already have a few new sponsors this year. The seniors, there was about 80 seniors in attendance for the Elvis lunch last Wednesday. This coming Wednesday is the St. Patrick's Day lunch. And on the 20th, they will be heading to Danforth Yacht Club for an Irish band and lunch of corned beef and cabbage. In assessing, Verna is going out and doing the building permit pass. She is going to all the homes that got a building permit and seeing what changes have happened in their home. Brittany, her assistant, has actually made calls to all of these people so that they have a heads up that Verna will be coming over and expecting her. And some of them, especially the new construction, are taking advantage of making appointments so that they can be home and take her through the whole house as well. So that's working out very well. Town clerk election went very well. Tyann has a big thank you out to the police department for making multiple rounds throughout the day. The response was great, and it was nice to see the officers talking with staff and the residents. The transfer station, they do have some damage to some of the containers. So Jeff is working on getting some estimates on getting those welded and repaired. And we are still struggling with monitoring the paper container due to staffing shortages. Citizens on a weekly basis, unfortunately, are putting shoes, used feminine products, dirty tissues, electronics, regular trash, and a lot of other items that do not belong in the paper container. So this ends up costing the town more money for disposal, and recycling. Economic development, would you want to add anything?
No, I was just, when that came up. So what we have to do now is we have to have someone 3 or 4 times a day dig through the paper products to clean it out. And folks, this is costing us taxpayer money. They gotta understand that. And if we keep doing it, I'm gonna have to shut down collecting paper. Because we can't, I don't have enough staff. I don't have enough staff right now with just 4 people there, and we're trying to hire staff. I don't have enough staff to have them shut everything down and go spend a half hour digging stuff out of the diapers and other products that don't belong in clean, dry paper. So, you know, and on another side note of that, we have some bags that are showing up that are not our bags. They thought they were, when they asked the people, they said they were from Shaw's. I went over and spoke to Shaw's, they were not from Shaw's. So somebody in town has gone out, paid to have their own town bags made that don't look anything like ours, used our logo, which is illegal, by the way. And is passing now, I don't know, we don't know if they're selling them on the black market, but I filed a complaint with the police department, and they've been opened an investigation. And we'll attempt to try to figure out who this is coming from. Again, what they're doing is stealing money from the taxpayers of the town of South Berwick. They gotta understand that stuff costs us money. That's what's happening. It's costing taxpayers, all the stuff, cost taxpayers lots of money.
On a lighter note, economic development, the Downtown Revitalization Plan Committee met on March fourth. Dan Boyle, President of the Historic District Commission, was also in attendance. Over 240 surveys have been completed to date. There's still a few more days left. We have until the 15th. If you have not filled out your survey, please do so. And we have a public hearing workshop set for Thursday, May 16th at 6 p.m. here at the Town Hall. Denise is also doing some research on earmarking grants at the federal level for the downtown. For my department, finance, HR, safety, I have had 11 business meetings and 29 staff meetings in the last 2 weeks. Tax payments can be dropped off at the town hall during non-business hours by using the old police door and out back. We're gonna put some signs. We'll be posting that on Facebook to get the word out, to make it easy for the residents to not even have to come in the building if they don't want to. The third round of budgets have been completed. We had our first workshop last week. That went very well. We are looking at the electric car lease, which is up in 2 weeks. The current car that we've had for the past 3 years was 100% free through the state. And now the new lease that we're looking at for the next 3 years, it's only gonna cost us $1,600 per year. And we are looking at upgrading to Trio Web, which is our software that does everything from the motor vehicles to finance, assessing. And if we do the web version, we would only need to upgrade 1 server, not 3. So it'll be a little bit more in software costs, which eventually we all have to go to the web version because the SQL now will be phasing out. So we're looking to get more information on that. I'm speaking with other towns, local towns, seeing the good and the bad and finding out what I can about that transition and what we have to expect in the future. And I am also working on getting the warrant articles ready for the annual budget meeting.
And for my office, 13 business meetings, I've had 44 staff meetings. Police department, we've been doing union contract negotiations, dealt with, one citizen's complaint in person. I met with Jaco to discuss, it's a trash hauling company, to discuss trash pickup potential options. Don't know, we'll see what that looks like. Several meetings with the town's attorney to discuss several personnel matters, to discuss several legal questions, contracts, and also to discuss, I had something with you, I can't remember. Oh, the HRS, the retirement health savings. Met with Oak Point, obviously, more clarification. In the last 2 weeks, I've received 4 thank yous and good jobs for Diane from the clerk's office. So congratulations, Diane, good job. Madam Clerk, would you please inform the board of what's gonna happen here Tuesday from your office? Or Wednesday? What,
I think it's Thursday.
Thursday.
One day next week.
Someday soon.
One day next week. Oh.
Are you doing a wedding?
This Thursday, yes, we are gonna have our first
Oh, fun.
wedding ceremony here in this room. It's like local couple that just wanted to get it done and have a big party later.
Nice.
So, actually, if you look up to there, that lovely box, that will be an arbor, and I do have fake flowers that will be put on those arbor, and I also worked with Aubrey's to create a special South Berwick cupcake for like a duo thing, for the couple to enjoy after. So it's, I asked Aubrey, I'm like, please don't use the design anywhere else, and she's just like, I just let her go with it, I'm like, but yes, she has graciously accepted that, and I will be doing that at 5 o'clock.
Nice.
On the stage note, I bent the things up there holding the screen because I didn't want somebody walking into them the other day, so that's why they're bent up.
Oh.
It was a, yeah, safety thing, so.
Probably should come right down at this point.
Yeah, I'll probably take that down, so.
Yeah.
Last thing is I'm working with, again, the 13 towns are doing the trash hauling contract, so the seller submitted us a contract. Talking to Dwayne Warren, town manager in North Berwick, the problem that the negotiating committee basically has with the contract is it's a very short contract for 5 years. The reason Casella's only giving us a 5-year contract, if you've been watching the news, they don't have the landfill the big landfill on Northern Maine's been closed. We only have one landfill in the state of Maine right now we're using. We're waiting to see. So there's a lot of negotiations going on with that. We're trying to figure that out to get our contract, which is up next year, along with 13 other towns moving forward. And that's all I have. Anything else?
Madam Chair, if I may add something just to have it on record with the town council. I've just seen a lot of mixed, remembrance of what I've offered, going forward, so I'd like to put on the record that as of April first, Monday, April first, the town
Oh, yeah.
clerk's office will be open on Mondays from 9 to 5.
Yes.
So it is not an April Fool's joke. It is April first that we will be starting that, so come on in.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Thank you.
that.
Absolutely, thank you.
That people are gonna be really excited.
I think that'll help with the long lines out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a long line out the door and you have to stand in it no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Anyone have questions for them? Council comments? Melissa? Sorry.
I had nothing because I think I've yapped enough tonight, but I'm just absolutely disturbed by the transfer station
I know.
situation.
I was gonna say, Mark, if you wanna write a story, write it about the transfer station and that problem. We need that message.
That sounds pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that our workers, I would like to sincerely apologize to the employee that has to dig through that paper bin and discover what they discover. And if you need a game cam, maybe put in the trash bin, I'd be more than happy to donate one.
We spent 2 weeks, leaving someone there all the time to explain to people, don't know, that can't go in there, that can't go in there. And as soon as we didn't have anybody at that table, it started, went right back again. They're only costing themselves more money.
And black market, town trash cans?
Black market town trash bag.
Mallory has a crack
You
up
can't make
machine.
this up.
Sorry.
Sorry. What did you say?
I said Mallory has a crack up machine, just saying.
Well, someone was having.
No, they're not lying.
I know.
Yep.
No, nothing for you?
No, I'm
Okay.
good.
Jessica, anything?
Yeah, we had a comp plan meeting last night. Again, we're working towards a public information session on April 11th. We had another discussion about implementation and the need for some blurbs from the town council as far as implementation with the comp plan. So one question is, like, how might the town council keep the planning board in line with the comp plan moving forward? And then what happens to our plan once it goes to the state and they send it back with revisions? Does that stay with us at the council level, or is that going back down to the comprehensive plan for revision? Really, and then, just looking for a little bit more information about that. So if we want to add it as an agenda item at a future meeting, would be great.
Yeah, it sounds like it probably should be an agenda item at our next meeting, I think. So it sounds like we need language for essentially how the town council is gonna create accountability for us adhering to the plan, and then where do the revisions go, right? Okay, let's just put it on our agenda next time, and we can chat through it, and if there's any additional information that we need to get, or like, anyone from the comp plan committee, then we can gather that and talk about it next time. Wonderful, does that work? Yeah, cool, thank you. Anything else? John?
Mark, here's a free shameless plug for good community action. Every Friday, started last Friday from 10 to 11 here, is free yoga for veterans. They have it right here on the stage. So Yoga in Action is putting that on. It's been very well received in the Portsmouth area. A lot of the veterans that were going were from Elliott and South Berwick, and working with Tim, they got use of the third floor up here. So every Friday from 10 to 11, free yoga for veterans.
And who does that? Free yoga for veterans?
Free yoga for veterans, and it's put on by Yoga in Action.
Yoga in action.
That's it? Thanks for you.
That's it.
Cool. I have the two things. One, coming up in a few weeks, March 29th and 30th, and April 5th and 6th is Mamma Mia at Marshall High School. My multi-year plug. The set and the stage are gonna be really cool, so check it out. Also, this is more so for the council. I got a note from the York County Budget Committee regarding the budget committee caucuses. So Wednesday, April 10th at 6:30 PM. And in order for the caucuses to be successful, elected officials from 29 cities and towns in the county should plan to attend. And only elected municipal officials can attend. South Berwick is part of District Number 1, and we can only send one elected member. I can go to this, I will just volunteer unless anyone wants to fight me for it. Okay, I will go to the York County Budget Committee meeting as long as everyone's cool with that.
Congratulations, Cheryl.
Thank you. And that's all that I have.
Madam Chair, I move we go into executive session. First one, MRSA, section 405-6A, personnel.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Oh.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Fine, I'll do the usual, send you the stuff.